Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining me for another beer review. Hope you're all well. It's the end of the working week, or for me anyway, Friday afternoon. Hope you all had a good week and hope you're feeling good. The weather is still pretty miserable and grim and cold and nasty and horrible, but we will continue to chuck beer reviews out. So that is what I'm going to do on this one. So, beer we are looking at is one that my wife got me for Christmas. She bought me a big box of 26 beers from around the world, from Beers of Europe, and this is the first one that I'm looking at from that box. And I'm doing it now in January because pretty much dry January and all that lot, it seems to be the thing that everyone does now in January, you know, going to non-alcoholic beers. And there was one beer that she got me that was non-alcoholic, and that's the one I'm going to do. So it's out of a brewery out of Denmark, Mikkeller, and this is their non-alcoholic hazy IPA, and this is their weird weather. So I'm going to start it from there. There we go. We got some chap with his hat on in the sea with the sun and clouds, and she's doing a bit of sunbathing, scantily clad. And as we turn the can round, we've got a bit of a thunderstorm starting to appear. So it also, I mean, the weather isn't weird now, is it? It's what you expect at winter time, but what an ideal time to do it, isn't it? A non-alcoholic beer in January, weird weather, you know, weather we're getting. Anyway, let's stop talking. There we go. That's what we're going to take a look at, and it's going to go in the beer 52 glass. I have got a Mikkeller Game of Thrones glass, but it's a big pint thing, so that's going to be pointless in that. So I'm going to whack it in my beer 52 advent calendar one, basically because the artwork on there is very much Mikkeller-ish. So it's just come out the fridge. It's nice and chilled. This is coming in at 0.3%. It didn't really say anything on the can, so there is nothing to tell you. So let's get it cracked open and see what we get. It's like a free beer, this one, isn't it? Non-alcoholic. I'm getting like a free beer to drink, aren't I? Let's get it out and see what we get. I don't know about anyone else, but for me, beers were always sort of 0%, 0.0% or 0.5%, and now we're seeing a trend of like things that are in between 0.5 and 0.0%. I don't know what all that's about. Are they trying to cut out on that sort of like 0.5% and trying to even trying to lower the ABV of non-alcoholic beers? Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, still a lot in the can. Beer in a glass. There is a slight haze to it, but it is a very sort of, it's like lemon cordial that is so thinly mixed. It is unreal. It is unreal. It looks very uninteresting, very much uninviting. We got a very light, white, fluffy sort of head on top. It's looking very bland, isn't it? It's got to be said. But we will dive in with the nose and we'll get the rest in afterwards, and maybe it will change a little bit. But let's dive in and have a sniff of the old weird weather from Mikkeller. See what we get. Yeah, it's got, I mean, it's low ABV. It's 0.3%. So you expect it to sort of be light on aromas and it's got very much supermarket feel to it. But to be fair, it probably smells like some of these like poor supermarket sort of 4% sort of IPAs, whereas this is only 0.3. So really, there's a hoppy bite. It's sort of hoppy, tropical like, maybe a little bit floral, but that's about it. There's maybe a slight sort of malty backbone to it as well, but it's 0.3%. Let's try and be focused and be generous and give it the benefit of the doubt. It smells all right for 0.3%. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm going to swirl the beer and see if we can get any change in sort of look or anything. No, it still looks exactly the same. Certainly my side of the camera, we got a bit more of a thicker red, but looks very pale, very light. So, Mikkeller Weird Weather Non-Alcoholic Hazy IPA, 0.3%. Let's dive in and give it a go. Cheers, missus. Cheers, everyone. Do you know what? I actually don't think that's too bad. It does feel that it doesn't feel too bad, but what I'm getting from this beer is maybe some 0% beers I've had in the past have had this sweetness, this sugary sweetness, and I'm kind of getting that feel with this. But if you take that out of it, which you can't, obviously, if you ignore that side of it, it's actually not too bad. Body of the beer, and a bad, don't get me wrong. It's not massively heavy, as you wouldn't expect. But there does seem to be a bit of weight to it. Certainly for what it is, it feels pretty good in the mouth. Yeah, drinking that then, it feels good. It's not over carbonated. There is a little bit of fizz in there, but it doesn't ruin it. It's that sugariness that is starting to bug me now as I drink it, which is a shame because it has got that sweetness about it, that sugary sweetness. It's pretty smooth and it's pretty soft to drink, so I can't knock it there either. On the taste, the big thing in it for me on the taste is that sort of sugary sweetness, and that is the off-putting thing. There is, it's almost maybe a little bit glucosey, something like that. It does remind me, it does have a breadiness about it as well, which sort of like a bready grainness about it, which I found in some German non-alcoholic beers, but they did leave that sort of sweetness as well, that glucose sort of sweetness to them, which is a shame because generally the beer feels quite nice and pleasant, but there's not enough sort of beer notes in there for me. Yeah, malty, a little bit sweet, a little bit sugary. There is a little edge, a little tickle of sort of a hoppy feel to it, but not enough sort of beer flavours coming through. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever had, but it's just a shame there isn't that little bit less sort of sugariness in it, if you like, and not a little bit more sort of hops and fruity note. Because other than that, it's quite pleasant, and maybe that sort of glucose sugary sort of feel to it is the thing that's maybe filling out that body so it doesn't feel so thin. I don't know, but it just feels like it's lacking 5% more beer element to it. It needs 5% more beer element, 5% less sort of sugary sweetness sort of feel to it, and I actually think it'd be really, really good. I mean, there's nothing particularly disgusting about it. You would drink it if that's what somebody had to offer. You wouldn't be too bothered. Yeah, it's not the worst beer going, but I also think that, to be honest, if I was a designated driver, I'd drink that, try it, but I wouldn't be drinking 3 or 4 of them. I'd probably just go and drink a Coke, to be honest. But yeah, not the worst one I've ever had. Kind of had promise, but sort of maybe just let itself down a little bit. But Yeah, would I recommend anyone to rush out and buy it? If you're a non-alcoholic sort of beer drinker, I mean, I would always probably tell people to go and get the Guinness 0%, but if you don't like a stout and you maybe want to try something sort of along the lines of a hazy IPA non-alcoholic, yeah, maybe give it a go, I suppose. But to be honest, you can get so many non-alcoholic beers in the supermarkets these days. You are kind of spoilt for choice. I've not tried them all, so I can't tell you which ones to pick up. But yeah, not too bad, but just let down a little bit, I'm going to say. So there's my thoughts on Mikkeller's Weird Weather non-alcoholic hazy IPA. I can drink that. It's a free shot. It's a free drink. So I can go and do another one in a bit. So there's my thoughts on it. If you've had it before, let me know your thoughts. Be interesting to know how good that actually is for a non-alcoholic one. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you again soon on another one. Cheers.